Back in action with stocks by the numbers, and we're doing a quick update here on SoundHound AI as per request. We have earnings coming up soon. The stock has, as you see, been on the move for the past couple of days. So let's get into what's going on here. SOUN on the NASDAQ. This is, in case you're new to the company, this is a voice AI assistant software company. They've been expanding into different drive-through fast food franchises, believe White Castle, Krispy Kreme, just to name a few. I think Jersey Mike's also, right? Didn't we hear about that? But really, the stock ended up exploding here from the twos and went on a big run up to the tens, and then has been channeling inside of this triangle. And you can see we recently started to climb out. And what happened was, again, if you're not aware, it was revealed that NVIDIA has a very small stake in SoundHound, and obviously that spread like wildfire, and people said, well, NVIDIA likes them, so I like them, they're going to be huge. So everyone started to jump into the stock. So a lot of people traded it in the short term. Some people are just holding on. Some people are just buying shares no matter what the price is, and they're saying, 3, 4, 5 years from now, this could really be massive. And I have to agree with that analysis on the situation, because as we said, there may be a time where every appliance, our vehicles, we mentioned they got into the automotive space. So there may be a time where we're literally just talking to this software, and we're just going back and forth, just bouncing information back and forth between each other. So that's why if it really expands the way it can expand, this can be absolutely massive over the years to come. And also there was the recent Amelia acquisition, which now enters them into the healthcare space as well. So earnings coming up. And again, I say, in my opinion, as much as we don't want to see a company report wider than expected losses, I still feel personally that the revenue report is outweighing the losses in the current moment. So we're kind of riding the wave of, this might be the new hot thing that everyone's going to start signing up for and tapping them for. So the orders and the contracts might continue to flow in over the years. And that's why I think that we're watching the revenue a little bit more here than the earnings. But EPS estimates expected at a loss of 7.4 cents a share on revenue of 23.021 mil, which of course is a jump up. But again, remember, after they acquired Amelia, they increased their guidance because they're obviously collecting revenue from that acquisition as well. So the revenue chunking up, as you see the last couple of quarters, 13, about 11 and a half. Here was a very, very slight miss. But also, this was the same quarter that we just got the NVIDIA news, so I don't even think people cared about the numbers. They saw that it wasn't a massive miss. They kind of came close. NVIDIA likes it, so we're taking it higher. So that's basically the gist of what's been going on. If we look at the technical side, you can see that this was the symmetrical triangle that we were looking at, these orange lines here. And then we did an update, I think it was right around here, right around the apex, with that lovely Jim Cramer article labeling this as a meme stock, coincidentally, right as it's approaching the apex, ready to break out. And I basically said, in my opinion, markets have been up, this company receiving more good news than bad news. And I said, in my opinion, it's probably going to break up as opposed to break down. Stock starts breaking up, starts climbing, bouncing off of this support trend line we drew out. And then, of course, just in the last 2 days, we had a big bounce, not only off of this trend line, but of course breaking up and out above this trend line. Just want to show you this purple trend line again for your records. This is going back from the high of July 21st, 22, it looks like, to, like February 8th, 23, and that's just connecting those tops. And then I extended it out. And you can see that even as we were in the triangle, that was a key level where the stock was really fighting to hold. Then rejected. You can see we came right back up to it, had a big surge off the bottom, stopped right there at that trend line, rejected, stayed inside the triangle. And that's why I was saying that as we broke up and out, I was saying next stop, in my opinion, maybe right around 675, 680. And you can see the stock immediately jumped up to above 7, closed above 7. I mentioned in the Discord, again, if you're not in the Discord, there's an expired link in the description, and the reason I do that is because apparently I was putting a fresh link every single video, and apparently massive bots started to join our Discord server. So what I do now is I just leave that old expired link there, And if you guys, if you want to jump in and you just want to talk, whether you want my advice or not, if you just want to talk to everyone in the Discord, just let me know down in the comments and I'll send you a fresh invite link. And there you go. But we can see that as it closed above this trend line, the momentum continued. And you can see we retraced and tested 638, almost coming right back to this fib here of 636. And then we bounced and not only ran back up, but closed again above that resistance trend line. So that's why, in my opinion, I know people mentioned, again, shout out to Godspeed in the Discord. He mentioned a couple of potential price targets, pivot points to keep an eye on the way up. Mentioned, yeah, looks like right there at the top of that candle. Well, that high is 758. Next pivot point mentioned by him was 760, 791, and then 822. In my opinion, again, it may take a potential beat on earnings, so that this big move that I'm expecting may happen after the report. But in my opinion, as we see, it looks like the next stop may be this trend line here, looking like 835, 838, like kind of around that range. But yeah, I can appreciate the fact that, see how we topped out right here at like 790, and you can see where the bottom of the bodies of those candles pulled back to that level. So that's why, in my opinion, if it runs up to 790 going into earnings, in my opinion, it would make sense. Also, if it runs up and kind of stops there and then pulls back going into earnings, that would make sense as well, right? So in my opinion, that's kind of a level to watch. But if it happens to break up and out, I mean, if the volume really comes in heavy tomorrow going into earnings, we could potentially see the low eights, about 8 1/3. Potentially even going into those earnings. But hopefully they come out with a nice beat again, and hopefully off the Amelia acquisition, they're able to generate this revenue, and they're able to bring in, who knows, 23 and change, 24 million, and that would, in my opinion, help kind of catapult the stock above 8. But it's really been surging and climbing just in the last couple of days. It seems like everyone is not only playing this breakout, but of course, they're pretty pumped about earnings. So let's see some recent news here. Buy, sell, or hold the stock. It doesn't tell us anything. Is this an indication of further gains? See how after the stock pops, they always say, oh, should you buy it now? That's why we do what we do. Is NVIDIA back SoundHound? See, now again, this is how it's being labeled. And I just want you to understand, in my opinion, this is misleading. Because yes, NVIDIA does have a stake in it. However, of course, they're not one of the larger shareholders, but it's not backed by NVIDIA. You understand? In my opinion, I want that on record, because that really isn't the way to label this company. Ballard Power. Someone may have mentioned them. If you're watching, I'm sorry I didn't get to it. Suffers a larger drop. Okay, I don't think we have much news since the last time we looked. SoundHound stock be part of your portfolio. Okay, let's see what this says. We're talking about AI stocks. SoundHound spike 18%, along with Big Bear and C3 AI. Where is that trading at now? 27.5. I think a while back, I may have said, in my opinion, if we were able to get the stock maybe sub 30, it might be a decent buy. So I can we can come back to AI and do another update. Though Sound notched the biggest gains on the day, traders largely seem reacting to the news that Big Bear rolled out its Veriscan biometric verification platform at Denver International Airport. Sure, why not? Why not? Again, anyone could come into the country, but if you and I want to travel, they need our blood type, we x-ray scans. BBAI jumped 8.8% on the news. With market cap not yet profitable. Okay. Yes, but yeah, I mean the whole sector it doesn't make sense that this is why SoundHound popped off of their news. That makes no sense whatsoever. Again, I feel like it was because we broke up out of the triangle, retested the support, and then had the bullish bounce. In my opinion, that's the way it looks in the technicals. It doesn't make sense that they would run 18% off of Big Bear news, right? Doesn't make sense. What is this? What is this? Commercial drones. Okay, do we have specific mentions though? Down here, of course. Advanced drones, fueling the adoption of commercial drones. Active tech companies in the market include, yeah. I mean, of course, you could have the voice AI assistant software on the drone. So that may be a market that SoundHound could tap into. I don't know if that was the reason really of this break. But anyway, all right. You know how I feel. SoundHound wants to voice enable the world. Yeah, this is around the last time we did an update. Partnerships in the automotive space. SoundHound's using AI to help consumers better connect their vehicles and help car companies profit from transactions. They love automotive, of course. Automotives are rapidly pivoting. This is what I said last time. I said, in my opinion, like probably if you go back, you watch that Will Smith movie, I, Robot. In my opinion, it's probably going to get to that point to where it's essentially a computer on wheels as opposed to, like a vehicle moved by an engine, right? Like we've kind of taken the next step potentially. So that's why, in my opinion, I think it's going to be like a computer on wheels, which is why we kind of feel that SoundHound could potentially be huge for that moving forward. But again, yeah, iRobot, if you remember it, essentially you just get in and it drives, it takes you where you got to go. And if you recall, Will Smith, he pushed the button and the steering wheel came out, right? So like you had the option for manual control, but it was kind of like frowned upon, whatever, you can watch the movie, but you understand what I'm saying. In my opinion, I think we're going to get to that full autonomous level. The problem is, again, we're probably over the years going to keep improving the power of the engine itself and the battery life and the distance the vehicle can travel, right? We know that all of that is going to get more and more efficient, chances are, the more time we devote to making it better and better. So, we'll probably hit that point, but I know some people still kind of like, I don't know if I want an electric vehicle. I can appreciate that. It still is kind of relatively new. We think voice is really the killer app. Monetization opportunities. Giving an example of a person in a vehicle asking for directions to Comerica Park, where the Detroit Tigers play, and later asking for tickets to Detroit sporting events, right? So you kind of have like this all-inclusive ability now inside the vehicle, and that's why they think it's going to be pretty massive in the auto space. And also, again, I say, in my opinion, the recent Amelia acquisition, expanding them now into the healthcare sector, again, this is what we spoke about. So, in my opinion, though, based on recent trends here, I would say that we're probably going to see about 8 1/3. Market cap $2.5 billion. Again, with all due respect, ASTS, as much as you guys like it, keep a market cap up there at $7 billion change. Company really hasn't brought in $1 yet. SoundHound expanded into like 3 or 4 different sectors, made an acquisition. Revenue has been steadily climbing year over year. NVIDIA has an investment. You understand what I'm saying? So technically, on paper, you'd think SoundHound may right now sound a little more spicy than an ASTS. But again, the market cap is about 30% of what ASTS was last time I checked anyway. So again, I understand each stock is different. There was, the squeeze, like, I get it. But also, I'm sure you can appreciate what I'm saying as well. So, that's why if we get 1 or 2 catalysts, all of a sudden we're looking at like a $4 or $5 billion market cap for SoundHound. In my opinion, it's understandable, especially in this market, apparently, where everybody's worth billions and how many stocks now are, trillion, multi-trillion market cap. So, yeah, I mean, if that's the new trend, then yeah, bringing SoundHound up to 4 or 5 billion and change really shouldn't be an issue. And again, you can see the stock popping up on this news and continuing to channel up, and people may be looking here at the profitability side saying, I don't understand. They're reporting wider than expected losses. How come their stock's not in the gutter? Well, similar to what we just saw with Laser, the difference is we're getting positive catalysts and updates out of SoundHound, and also they're not consistently missing on the revenue, right? They're a little bit more consistent. And we're seeing that growth year over year, as we said. So that's why a little bit of a different situation if you did want to make that comparison. But technically operating at a loss, we know this. We know that it's going to take time before we go from the red to the black. But again, consistently signing up these restaurant franchises, branching out into these other sectors, the news of NVIDIA. And again, I mentioned that the CEO said they've been approached multiple times in the past to get bought out, I'm saying. So that's why, again, I personally am very bullish on SoundHound. And that's why, even if it does happen to, let's say we get an amazing quarter and it pops up, it breaks out, it runs back to 10, 11. That's why I'm saying, in my opinion, it may be a smart play for one of these other larger tech companies to just step in now and say, hey, listen, you know what? You might be overvalued in the numbers. Your market cap's up to 3.5, 4 billion, but guess what? We'll give you 5.5 billion. Let's just absorb the company now. Let's all do this together under our umbrella. So that's why I think not only does the company have the ability, in my opinion, to turn into a behemoth over the years, but also I think that it's a prime target for a potential bidding war on the horizon. But that's pretty much it. But let's look at stock charts real quick. I'll let you go. RSI on the daily, again, after these big pops, we ran right up to that 70 plus benchmark. RSI a touch below 73 to close on the day. So that's why we may initially drop back down maybe to the 670, or what was it, 680? No, what's this? Yeah, this top trend line here again, about 682, right? So that's why with an overextended RSI, it might like initially like pop out of the gate and then come back down and retest 680s and then bounce and try to run back to where it was. So only time will tell. We'll keep an eye on it. Again, earnings the 12th, Tuesday. Keep that in mind. MACD crossing down, crossing back up. We started to pop. Nice healthy bounce off the 50-day. We can see our 200-day slowly rising over the months. Now we're on screen and we're sitting here at 482. Again, I said in my opinion, that's what you like to see over time. Slow and steady moving average growth. That way, if there is a massive market correction or maybe some bad news, we come down and those are potentially the new support levels where you might see the stop and then the bounce. So that's technically good. Weekly, we have 50-day moving average 437. The stock again tightening in the triangle, recently breaking out. You can see it's been holding steady, really trying to hold this mid-Bollinger Band on the weekly. Came back down, bounced off of it, came down right to it, and then popped big. MACD crossed to the upside on the weekly as well. Weekly RSI sitting at about 67.5. Which again is why you could potentially open up and then pull back, or you could potentially open down, immediately test, and then spike and run up to the high 7s, potentially 8 going into these earnings. So again, we'll see. But yeah, maybe Monday or obviously after they report earnings, I'll do an update. But I'll see maybe, if we break up and out and, everyone's pumped about it and it's trending, then, we'll jump on. We'll try to look at it maybe before earnings. So we'll see what happens. But let's check these pivot points real quick, and I will let you go. Here on the weekly, you can see we have a pivot point 687, essentially right near this top. Well, not it's not top line resistance. This is top line resistance, but this resistance trend line, as we said, about 682, and you can see we have a pivot point here, 687, and it looks like about 690 maybe the year prior, and you can see right now stock 720. So technically, we're above this year's and last year's level 2 resistance. So again, when a stock runs up to above a resistance level and closes there, it technically is still bullish. But of course, traders also look at the RSI and say, is it overbought now? Do we have a pullback? So again, it's not guaranteed, but it's technically bullish. But yeah, we have to see how it opens, how it swings. And this resistance trend line 704, you can see, look, the day before it ran up slightly above and then pulled back and closed right below it, which may be why we also pulled back and then bounced up the next day. But 720 technically above that 704 mark. And I want to look at this level. This is going back in August. You can see, oh, there's a fly in my room. You can see, okay, going back to August of 24, looks like about 776, maybe 780, maybe kinda. And this top line resistance, when we had the last breakout, we can see is up here at 918. So again, we have a couple of levels. Again, shout out to Godspeed who mentioned some pivot points. We just looked at some other pivot points, 770, 780. We have this trend line here at yeah, like 835. So we have multiple levels to get to before we would break up to this old top resistance level of 915, it looks like. But we never know. We never know what's going to happen. And again, around this time, a couple of quarters ago, we got the NVIDIA news. So that's why, even if they report in line and it's not too impressive, we may see a pop after hours because, you know, there's news of some other financial institution who got out of some other position and now took a stake in SoundHound, right? So we know that we have the potential for the positive catalyst to continue to snowball in for something like SoundHound. But long term, I really like it. And again, if we're talking a couple of years out, I still say, in my opinion, $25 a share, I think is conservative. I really do think is conservative when we're talking about the potential of not only what they bring to the table, but of course of how far they can spread their reach and really absorb market share and how many different industries and sectors they could potentially enter. And again, getting approached in the past, potential buyout. I mean, in my opinion, this one seems really good. That's just me. But as we know, in the numbers, if we pull back 2.5 billion market cap, are they making $1 billion a year? No. So can the stock, you know, pull back again? Yes, of course, we know that. So there's still that little speculative cloud hanging over the situation where if it pulls back at any time, we could understand that as well, just as much as we can understand a breakup, right? So you have to keep all of that in mind. But again, I know a lot of you are just watching it, you like the updates, and you're planning to hold it for years. So as we say, if we like it at 7 and we pull back to 3.5, we're probably going to like it even more. And if we can, add to the position, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And we'll check back in, like I said, maybe Tuesday early before we can look at it, see how it's performing. And of course, Tuesday after market close, we'll jump on, we'll look at the numbers together real quick. But that's pretty much it. I'll end it there. So once again, Stocks by the Numbers, I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But of course, more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, and they are very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.